when we got saved, my wife and I, it was a really dramatic conversion to Christ. I was saved when I was 33, so we realized that we were really ignorant of the Word of God. So it's kind of, we started doing whatever our pastor told us we need to do. One of the things that they told us to do was to start tithing. So since the first Sunday when we went to church after we got saved, we started tithing. At the beginning, we were really new Christians, so it was kind of a way to express our thankfulness for our salvation to God, and it was kind of feeling we are doing the right thing a Christian should do. In 2000, at the end of 2010, beginning of 2011, when the economy was going really bad, I had 2 jobs, and I lost both of them. I could not afford to pay the rent sometimes during those months, and even when I didn't have enough money to pay the rent, I and my wife were thinking we have to tithe. The Lord has been always faithful and has provided for us all the times. The only thing that I did was pray, and one day in desperation, I remember at night, I went to the living room of my house and I started crying and asking God, I don't know what else to do. But somehow He gave me the peace that He was going to provide, and He did it during that time. So during that time, even though I was not working, like it was like for 3-4 months, never missed a payment on our rent, never missed a bill, because God provided in a way that I cannot explain. In that time, during 2010, 2011, I did a work for an architect. I used to do some works for him, and he was kind of in a really bad financial situation as well. So I did the job, he never paid me for that. Years later, I was working for another architect, and he asked me to go and measure the one place. So when I got there, I realized I already measured this place, I have plans for this space. So I called him, I told him, you know what, I already have plans for this space. I did this job years ago. So when I get back to the office, I told him the story that I drew these plans for another architect. I was never paid for that. And he told me, you just tell me how much did you ask for that, and I will pay that for you. So even when somebody didn't pay me, the Lord find ways to get me paid, right? And not just that. Years later, right? It was probably 2 years ago. Somebody called me. My wife wants to put a beauty salon in this place. So I heard the address, and it was kind of familiar to me. So I looked in my computer, and it was the place that I measured. So I got to do another job and pay for that job again. So I was paid twice, right? Because the Lord always faithfully provides. Even if somebody can pay me, He will pay me somehow. Years later, understood what probably happened during that time. Probably it was my pride that made me believe that I was the provider for my house. It was kind of the Lord showing me that actually I'm not the provider of my house. He used me to provide for my house, but He is the provider of my house. I will tell somebody who is hesitating to tithe that look at Malachi 3:10 and 11, because God kind of challenged us to prove Him, right? And to see if He is going to be really faithful if we tithe. I haven't seen any other way, other part in the Bible where the Lord tell us that we can prove Him. Other thing that is important is, as the Lord provided for you and bless you financially, you need to learn to bless another people, because I understand that the Lord doesn't bless you just to bless you, right? It's kind of, He bless you for you to be a blessing for somebody else, and that has been happening during those last years, and it's really, really nice to see that you can bless somebody else. Even when you tithe, you feel happy because you know through your tithe the church can advance the gospel to many people. If you go to missions, missionaries in many countries can live and spread the gospel. So even if you are not a missionary or a pastor or somebody that is spreading the gospel, like pastors and missionaries, somehow you are doing the job when you provide to the church with your tithes and offerings.